Hey guys, my name is Mike, and with me is Mark and Dewald. And we'd like to greet you on the very first ever Gearvana podcast because, it's a podcast about gear, and we're really excited to talk about it, and we hope you're excited to listen about it.
Because we love gear.
We do. We all love gear. Don't you love gear, Mark?
Too much, yeah.
I think Mark has a problem.
It's a little bit of an addiction, but we'll get into that.
Which means it doesn't have an addiction to gear, man.
Anyone who says they don't is like in crazy denial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you just flip and, your wife's watching.
There we are. But welcome again to the Gearvana Podcast. It is proudly sponsored by Rode. We hope proudly. Hopefully when they watch this, they don't go, geez, we're not proud of this. But
I think they'll be proud because we've got
Mark. They'll be proud. Yeah, we got Mark Beeling. Yeah, he's award-winning and all of that. I don't know what awards he won, but he'll tell us now.
We'll find out.
But yeah, thanks to Rode microphones. We got all these cool microphones. We got a Rodecaster Pro over there. Well, actually over there on the table was he running all the audio. Yeah, but yeah, we really appreciate it, guys. Very cool of you to facilitate this journey into gear on Gearvana. And of course, thanks to Marshall Music as well, because
definitely.
I kind of work at Marshall Music sometimes.
I also sometimes
do, yeah. But we'll try to keep it neutral. Also, Gibson are the best guitars ever, and you should buy them now. That was not neutral, hey? Actually, I don't believe that. It depends on your needs.
Yeah.
But anyway, geez, yeah, we're having it up here.
That was painful. Sorry, Mom.
We
love you.
So maybe we should get a little bit of introduction on who each of us actually is and why anyone should give a flying proverbial about what we think about gear. That might be interesting.
Good idea.
You want to start, Dewald?
All right. Well, hi. My name is Dewald.
You said that already. Come on.
I've been in the music industry since I got out of school. Studied sound engineering straight out of school, and then got my first job at Maranatha Record Company. This is way back in the day. They were still then, I think, the largest Christian record company in the Southern Hemisphere. Straight out of that, started working there as an intern in the studio, sound engineering, later went to becoming a producer. From there, I felt I was spending too much time on this side of the glass, and I'd rather be playing, because obviously I was a muser as well. And then I became a session bassist, and I did the rounds, and I toured and played with everyone, back then. And then I was a session bassist for quite a while, and then got tired of that, because as a session player, one of the things that I felt was like you're always like a musical whore. It's like it's great you get paid to play, but then once you get back off tour, I remember this was one tour where I got home, and you were on the road for 6 months, and you got money, but that's it. That's it. Nobody knows who you are because they don't care. So
you wanted to become famous, is what you're saying?
Well, not that. It just it fell to that thing like, okay, cool. 6 months down the line, but what have I achieved except make money? And the artists that you perform with, their careers are rocketing, and all of that. But the session music on the stage, nobody could actually care less who the bassist or the guitarist or that type of thing is.
Speaking to that point, but what I must say, it was very cool about session players like you guys. Like, you get to play all these different styles of music. You aren't locked into one thing. So, you get to imagine being in one band and having to play that music for the rest of your life. You get to play all these different styles of music. I think that must be amazing.
It is to a degree.
He's not in love. You could hear. He's like,
it was both. It was fun. It was scary because then you'd come from a rock gig and go to a jazz gig, thinking like.
But what could be better? But that's like the ultimate. Your head's constantly changing. You're like thinking of different styles of music to play. That's
the awesome part about it. But then politics get involved. That you start playing for a certain artist, and that artist feels that you belong to them. And then you go through the thing about other people want to start booking you, but now it's, I'm not going to go into detail, but there's a lot of things, especially in the Afrikaans music industry. In the Afrikaans music industry, there's a issue. I don't know if it's still like that. This is now 10, 15 years ago that I decided I'm out of it. But there was an issue where you'd go to a festival, you played with an artist, another artist would ask for your number, and then you'd get shit about it because now...
Yeah, eventually each artist feels like they're playing with a house band because they got all the same session guys playing.
Exactly.
Like in every band. So that could be an issue.
Yeah, so it wasn't fun. I didn't dig it. It wasn't for me. And so after that I got my own home studio, started producing again. And then I actually got into teaching because there was a hip-hop artist that wanted me to produce one of his songs, and I didn't know anything about hip-hop production. So I wanted to enroll in a hip-hop music production course. And then actually the college that taught the production asked me if I didn't want to come teach there because of my background with sound engineering and music production, more on the contemporary side. And then I started teaching, and from there, so that's me. I play bass, guitar, and about a couple of years ago I started playing drums. I've actually joined Mark on stage playing drums. I think that was my second time playing drums live ever.
Yeah. Listen, I think the brandy and coke helped a lot. You know.
so that's me. You know. I don't know.
You want to hit us, Mark?
Listen, after Dewald's illustrious CV,
it did sound like a CV. I'm not going to lie. I'm listening to Dewald and he's like, is he trying to pitch for a job here or like?
No, you just wanted to know.
I mean, that's it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Hey, no, listen. I've been also just doing this for a while, and was part of a band that was moderately successful in South Africa, and
Mean Mr. Mustard.
What's the band called, Mark?
Mean Mr. Mustard.
Look at his face.
Well, some things you're proud of, in life, and look, I suppose I'm just proud of it. But anyway,
Mean
nonetheless,
Mr. Mustard was rocking.
It was a good band.
Kudos to you. I could honestly say I remember when Mean Mr. Mustard was pumping and your hair was still like up to here.
But it's ran out of hairspray today. But
you couldn't turn the radio on without not hearing a Mean Mr. Mustard.
And you were responsible for the hole in the ozone layer with the hairspray.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but goodness. But then also like you, you always want to create stuff, and I was always more into the production side. I'm definitely not into having the focus on you, and that I find as an artist, it's so demanding. I mean, can you imagine how the artists overseas must deal with it? The really big guys, and they've got so much scrutiny all the time.
Definitely.
They don't have a life because they're going to do so much publicity and everything. I mean, we just had a little taste of it here in South Africa, and that was, I think to myself, no. But I just wanted to create, so I started producing as well early on in 2000, 2002, and I've just been doing solo gigs and being into production and playing live here and there for my own enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I love gear like most of you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, you go to Mark's studio, you can see that. You can see that for sure.
I would definitely hang out in Mark's studio.
I do from time to time. I'd be like, hey, Mark, I'm coming to drop this thing off with you, and then I leave 3 hours later.
Hang, why not?
It's fun. So you've won a few awards. Let's talk about the awards, because I quite enjoy how the top falls off of them. It's quite.
Okay,
I've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah, though that's
just to say that they're slightly scuffed, but they're pretty cool.
No, but the first one was our first single in the band for me, Mr. Mustard, called "Can't Get Enough." It was a SAMA award, and then I did the Blackbird album.
South African Music Award, yeah.
Yeah, South African Music
Association.
Yeah, like a
musical artist. Or what is that? I mean,
you know what?
Did I just get you now?
No, I just never paid them as attention to it. You know what I mean? And then the second one with Blackbird I was nominated for Best Engineer and Best Producer, but I won the Best Engineer that year. And then
don't worry, Mark, you are the best engineer.
Yeah,
just saying.
No, but I mean it was and the award Mark's talking about here. We get sent these awards, and it's got this top heavy thing which has never stayed on. It just broke off, and no matter what super glue you use, you can try anything. This thing just doesn't want to stay on. So, and when people came to my studio, it's like, this is not. Oh, sorry. And then I obviously make them feel really bad about it. But I mean, for a while,
you've totally missed out on an extra monetization option for your studio. Every time somebody breaks your award, you're like, oh, geez, it's going to cost me. It's like.
Oh, well, for most artists wouldn't watch a gear review, so possibly we'll go and use that.
Maybe still do that, because you can be like, I'll just put it on your invoice. It's cool. Like, I feel so bad.
But do you take that to your gigs and put it on your amp when playing? Just when someone comes up to you,
Yeah, I should have them both on the kick. Yeah, like, you know, just I am someone. You know what I mean?
Even better, get a photo printed of you holding it and then print it on your own shirt. Come on.
Or one of those pull-up things you put behind you, know, those on stage.
Those pull-up banners with your cell phone number and a photo of your SOMA award.
Yeah, get us. That's advertising, I suppose. Eh? Got to get
You know, you should keep it close. So, like, if somebody messes with your sound or like sound engineer wants to change something, you pick it up and you be like,
oh, well, just point the poster behind you, you know.
Or if someone requests baby chocolates, you're like, and then
do you pay baby chocolate?
Just say no. Just say no.
No, well,
we're going to be discredited by everybody. He doesn't.
He doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It's a good song. What a kharat, you know.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Yeah.
Yes, come on.
Yeah, I've been in the music industry for 16 years. I think it is 17 years. I don't know, somewhere around 17 years this year actually. But
sure,
not been in the on stage thing all that much. I mean, I started actually, you know, like everyone does. You play in church, you learn how to play there, and then from that. You know, ended up doing the original bands and doing all those things, playing the terrible sort of 1 a.m. slots and gigs and things like that. And actually, I remember recording with you years ago, Mark, and that was really cool. It was a really cool experience. Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I mean, I must say to Mark's credit, he's a very encouraging producer, and he actually is a producer. Like, he'll be like, "Oh, I can hear this melody. Try this." Or like, I think that's part of your strength, really. And I saw that when I worked with you back then. But yeah, a little compliment, pat on the back.
Oh, you guys.
I kind of just quickly realized the whole like original band kind of thing. It's fun. You get to be creative. You get to play some cool like festivals and stuff. But the whole like bar gig thing, man, geez, I hated it. I hated that whole like it's 3:00 in the morning. I feel like absolute shit. Like I've been dragged behind a truck and I have to go to work tomorrow because I still have to pay the bills because the like $500 on the bar gig isn't gonna cut it. You know? So
if you get $500.
If you get $500,
I've got this vivid memory of playing Edenvale at 2:00 in the morning at some Dodge bar at a festival or like festival that wasn't, marketed properly, and literally doing the 2
a.m. It's 2 a.m. because it was late, right?
Yeah,
like everything was late.
Everything was running late. Always. So my PRS hollow body with me, which is and Edenvale. So I was literally carrying that guitar with me the entire evening because I wasn't going to leave it in my car. I wasn't going to leave it like from 8 when you rock up because you're going to actually support the other acts because that's what you're supposed to do. Nah. Once everybody's left and you're the only band left and you like, it was...
That was always the best, eh? If you're the last band on the bill, supposedly you're like the headline or whatever, everyone pisses off before you play.
Yeah.
But then you got to support everyone else. It's a really weird standard. But
that for me was the worst, when the original scene is when you try to cut that. So then obviously you get other bands that are original and then... everybody feels the organizer is supposed to promote it. So none of the other bands, promote it. They want to come play to your fans.
Yep.
And then, so they play and then they leave. So you sit there the entire night watching, supporting, which you're supposed to do. And then...
the other thing that also happens is if you're the band with the best gear, then they're like, can you just bring your kit with? Or can you just bring your bass amp? So because I'm a gearhead, I always had the best gear, so then you end up having to play last and freaking like supply half the back line, which is just, it used to drive me crazy. But we're digressing a little bit here.
Sorry.
But for me, I've kind of, where I'm involved in the music industry now is actually in import and distribution. I've worked for a few different companies in the space, been a brand manager for lots of big guitar brands and other brands in PA and studio and whatever. And at the moment, I'm actually with Marshall Music. I'm one of the brand managers and marketing guys and do everything guys, which you are as well. You're also involved in some of the marketing.
No, but you do everything.
Yeah, I literally do. I should pay me triple. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think so. Yeah. If anybody's watching this, Mike needs a raise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, we've done a bit of video content in the past for Marshall Music as well. I mean, for me, I guess the question some people might be thinking is, okay, well, you're involved with the retailer. Why is anything you say matter? Well, it probably doesn't, but at the same time, I got 17 years of experience in doing this. I've gone to the NAMM show many times. I've gone to Music Messe many times. I've done factory tours of all the major guitar brands, factory tours of, PA brands and all sorts of things. So I know a few things, baby. It's fair to say.
The thing is, I mean, you've tried, you try a lot of things.
I'm the worst. I buy everything,
but
don't I?
We've done an experiment once. It's the first time kind of experience that I've had was trying to find a guitar that when you've had the choice of trying a couple and you can actually get a real world feel. Obviously you have it more than I do, but I mean, when I went there and we had the choice to play all these guitars and you can really see which one really sounded better for you, for me personally, that was, and you get to do that all day with whatever you want.
But all day. But
not all day, but I mean,
But I also, if you've not noticed, Mike has this weird ability to remember every detail,
unbelievable,
spec-wise.
Good Lord.
Not every detail, but a lot of them. Yeah.
I think where Mark
neck radius, fret wire.
Yeah, where Mark and I would both be like, "Yeah, this feels lekker, it's awesome." And with Mike, it's like this radius, that kind of.
It's like a whole spreadsheet just comes out in his head. You know what I mean? Like, he remembers everything. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, there is that. Like, it's something that's been a great advantage to me for sure.
Yeah.
And like, I also took a little bit of a detour away from the music and everything. I was actually in broadcast. I did esports commentary and podcasts and TV stuff and whatever. So, I'd be like, welcome to the esports podcast. Like you pull out all that crap. So, there's a little clip of that maybe we'll publish at some point.
We'll find it and put it on.
Yeah, I got a bit of that context from live broadcasts as well, done the live shows, been behind it, done the sound engineering, done all the sound engineering courses. I mean, I also run a few courses and things, training stuff, product clinics. Sure, I think
when do you get the time, Mark?
I don't know, actually. Everyone asks me that, and I'm like, when do I get the time?
Yeah.
Being unmarried and childless. Feel sorry for me. I don't.
Listen, we
solidarity.
We see you again. We don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
exactly. So I guess on this podcast, to circle back after like 20 minutes is, we're going to talk about guitar gear. We're going to talk about some studio gear. We might talk about some live stuff occasionally. We're guitar players and we're studio cats mostly. So those are the kind of things, probably 70, 80% guitar, maybe 10, 20% studio, and maybe occasionally we'll talk about some stuff in the industry. But I don't think our objective is to talk about too much about I doubt we would have done a Taylor Hawkins tribute episode or something as much as we all dig him, but it's more about the gear than necessarily like what's topical in the international music industry. So we'll hit on some news, what's cool new releases. We'll talk about some hot topics of the week. We'll talk about maybe some stuff on guitar forums like the Gear page or the Telecaster forum. Maybe there's sometimes really some cool and insane stuff that comes out of those places.
And also what's really cool about watching this is because Mike is the import guy for a lot of things. He knows when stuff will arrive before anybody knows what will arrive. So
yeah, I've signed NDAs for a lot of things. I've got to be really careful about what I say. But in a South African context, I know when some things are coming internationally. Obviously, we're talking to guys like Gibson and PRS and whoever. So I'll try and give some of that inside information for people. We have a section called Guitar of the Week where we will show one of these cool guitars and a guitar every week. And we have a Gear of the Week where each of us individually will talk about a specific thing that we find particularly cool. So let's see how much we could get through at the time we got. But I think let's start with hot news. I feel like there's got to be like an 80s hot news.
We'll get that going.
Can we get some purple lighting back here as well?
But I think we could probably do that in post and
edit it in post. Can you give me hair in post? Is that
yes?
Okay. Okay, that'd be cool. Actually, the reason for the hat I discovered very early on with broadcast when the makeup lady looked at me and I could see the horror and the color drain from her face when she was like, "Oh shit, you're going to go on a live sports broadcast and I didn't bring enough makeup for your dome." And I'm like, "What if I put a hat on?" And she's like, ask the producer, and he's like, "Yeah." It's like, problem solved. So I just wear hats since then.
You don't think about those things, eh?
No, it's crazy because the level of reflectivity of a ball dome.
It is true. It is true.
Because they're going to cake your face and then cake your head. It's one of those things. So the hot news for this week. And it's actually
news.
from a couple of weeks. Hot news.
Okay, hit it.
A couple of weeks ago is the Yamaha Revstar update.
I love
the new
Yamaha
range.
Revstar.
You do?
I do. I've been a huge fan of Yamaha Revstar. I've actually owned, we spoke to this prior, but I got a Yamaha Revstar, the 720B. So it's the 720 range of the Bigsby. Absolutely loved it. Neck was awesome. Just felt great. I just could never bond with the pickups.
Was that the thicker neck better? Was that the flat?
I think
Because I mean they've got quite a flat neck. I mean
The originals, like they were quite thick neck, and the radius was pretty flat.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah,
like
the radius
flatter
was
than a
flat,
Gibson.
but,
I think it was like 14-inch or 13.
But the one I played of a buddy of mine, the whole neck just felt
The
very,
producer's
very
laughing
flat.
at me because I know that number.
Yeah. Well, the first time I actually played a Revstar was Nick Rush. We did a gear rundown with him, and he also told me, check this out. Obviously, his has been heavily modded and everything, and that was just like...
Yeah.
Sounded insane. So yeah, but I think it wasn't like a fat neck. You know, it felt kind of like thinner than my PRS, but also not like not like.
But your PRS is a wide fat though. Eh?
Yeah,
it's like a
so-
chunky.
Yeah, so it's a little bit. But I mean, that thing, the workmanship on that thing was just impeccable.
I think
You
the
know, it
Japanese
was-
stuff are just all impeccable.
I mean, that would be an Indonesian one though. Eh?
Yeah.
So like with the new Revstars, kind of what they've changed in them that I think is quite cool is like. It's hard to tell, but the body is actually slightly different in size. It's actually a little bigger.
Yeah, it's
and
chambered
they've kind of
now, yeah.
moved where the cutaway is a little forward. So because it kind of had that SG vibe where it just wanted to spin like a top on a strap
Yeah.
by the headstock. You know, like yours wouldn't have with the Bigsby, but
Yeah.
like they've kind of changed the size a little bit. They also chambered them as well now, so they should be a little bit lighter because that was also part of the issue of the previous Revstars.
It
Like
was just like-
we've had a few in the shop where I like take it off there and like
word.
you know.
Yeah.
It's not quite. I mean, I don't do that with guitars, but it kind of feels like you're like, oh, I hurt my wrist.
Jeez.
So
Yeah. And I mean the fretting, I saw the like a review as well on the new Revstars. The fret work on those are just insane. Where they'd actually like round off and finish the frets before they actually put it into the guitar.
Oh my goodness.
It's not put into guitar and then
yeah,
file
they're
down.
quite cool. So you get the Elements range now, which is like your cheap kind of Indonesian, generic kind of. It's the Yamaha Revstar shape, but it isn't really. I mean, sorry, Anton, that I said that, but it's the Yamaha guy. But the where it really starts is the standard series, because like they have the standard series, which is also Indonesian, but then they got stainless steel frets. They got the same pickups that you get on the Japanese guitars. They got
Same pickups.
well-
Is it the same pickups as originally? Or have they changed
no,
the
they
pickups?
knew. I don't know if it's actually the same pickups for the humbuckers, but I know the P90s are the same ones that you get on the Japanese
Okay.
ones. So your standard series is stainless steel frets, which is really cool on like a mid-priced Indonesian guitar, and then your professional series. Again, stainless frets and all of that kind of stuff. But we're gonna hit on one of the weird things about it. I mean, maybe I could show you guys on. You guys will be able to see on screen at the moment the whole Revstar thing. But I'll just show these guys on the little left top screen. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are seeing this. But they're chambered in some way. But what's weird with the Japanese ones is they got these like two strips here that are like supposedly carbon fiber in the body that changes the tonality of the guitar, which to me sounds like bullshit. To be fair, because it's like apparently they also play like sounds through the wood, to age the wood, which some manufacturers do as well. But it also kind of it sounds like marketing.
Sounds
buzzword.
gimmicky, or
Sounds
like-
a bit. Yeah.
I don't know.
So-
I've got a whole different viewpoint on tone wood and tone.
Oh,
Like,
we'll get there. Let's not get there yet. But they got carbon fiber reinforcement in the necks and the standards
Yeah, that I saw,
and the
and
pro.
that's
So
cool,
that's quite a cool vibe. But you can check the colors are quite lacquer.
Yeah.
They got these.
Awesome.
I really dig the blue, obviously, because you know me and blue. And then these are the pro ones. You get a gold top. You get
Let's
the
just
blue.
talk about the gold top quick. Let's just say Chris Buck.
Oof, what a player, man!
Yep.
Well, what a player. I mean, he's my favorite person from Wales
Definitely. Well,
who isn't a rugby player.
but I mean, like if his tone and playing alone wouldn't want you to like just have a Revstar.
You know what's really sad with it is the gold top that he plays. They don't offer the gold top in America. So like you can get the gold top in Japan, Europe, and I presume in South Africa. I need to actually check that with Anton. But apparently the gold top's not available in America, which feels
Why?
it just feels like a bit of a missed opportunity there, don't you think? Because like I mean, Chris Buck's playing the gold top.
Yeah,
like, people
and I
want
mean
to buy
he's
that.
such a monster player at the moment.
But it is interesting, like what they've done, where you get the same finishes across the board. So if you want a blue humbucker one or you want a blue P90 one, that's pretty cool, And then on the P90 one, you got the tailpiece rather than the whole thing, and they got this like 5-way switch with coil splits on the humbucker, and you got this thing called I think it's the dry switch. No, the focus switch is what it's called. So it's got like a transformer built into the guitar. When you pull the switch out, it kind of reroutes a few things and makes it sound a bit louder. But
it actually has a boost it's not an active boost. There's no battery or
I don't think it's really a boost. I think it's just like notching some frequencies because it sounds like duller when you do that. So it's quite a cool thing. I think Yamaha onto something with this range where before the range was confusing. Like honestly, I thought it was confusing because it was hard to understand what's made in Japan, what's Indonesian, what's good Indonesian, and what's bad Indonesian. Not bad, but I mean, I'm the guy here with the custom shops. You're the guy with the custom shops. So in our minds, we're thinking, Indonesian maybe not so good, but they did make some good guitars. Like you had a good guitar in the Indonesian range. It's just like I think it was hard to understand what level the guitar sits at. So now you got Elements as a cheap one, Standard is the like really well featured Indonesian guitar, and then you got the Professional, which is the Japanese. And apparently there's no difference in features between the Japanese and the Standard. Like there's no difference just where it's made, and obviously the carbon fiber in the body that does something and the sounds that gets played through the thing. So, but I imagine the workmanship's going to be good, right?
I mean, if you look at, I'm going to change brand now. To the
you better not. Yamaha's paying us a lot for the segment.
Gear talk, but
wait, are Yamaha paying for us for the segment?
Not yet, Anton.
Okay.
But I used to be, or still own one or two Takais, but I used to own a lot of Takais, and their cheaper range, I think it's a Chinese range. I mean, it's still built flipping well.
Yeah, I think that's
So, I mean, it's not like the old days, I think, when there was just quick rushed labor. I think these days with CNC machines, I know there's still loads, like you told me about, that need to be done manually.
A lot in guitars, actually, but
Yeah, and but I mean, the quality is still great.
Yeah, here's this thing that I've always thought about, and that I try to had conversation with people about, is if you think guitars that we all reminisce about, Fenders and Gibsons and whatever that's been built in the 70s or 60s or back then. And like sometimes I have this question, honestly, don't you think a guitar that's been made in 2022, with the technology that we have now, wouldn't be a better guitar than what was built 50 or 60 years ago with someone not really knowing what they're doing, like the way that we've
I would say that the chances of it being a good guitar are far higher than in the like in the 50s or 60s, because that level of hand labor. I mean, there's a really cool video actually Gibson put out a couple of weeks ago of like a factory tour from like, I don't know, like I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was like the mid 60s or like 67 or something, and you can actually see them making, obviously not Les Pauls because those were discontinued for a bit, but they're making SGs and hollow bodies and acoustics and amps and stuff. And you check the sheer amount of like hand labor involved in making that. But that also means the human error of like how,
but also technology. I mean, even if it's hand labor, just the technology that went into the equipment that you use with your hands,
true. It depends on what it is. Because like using the Gibson example, like they actually used the original presses for pressing the laminate bodies of 335s that they used back then. Because that technology, it's a press, you pull it down and it heats and steam and you leave it, so that's not really going to change. But the cutting of like solid body shapes, absolutely, man. Because like, I think people have this like weird idea with guitars that like now because they're CNCs, like every single guitar is the same.
It's not.
But I mean, they're made out of wood for a start. Wood is a very variable thing. I mean, it's not metal or something where, the consistency of the material is uniform. But also like finishing a guitar neck, there is a guy who's going to hand sand the remainder of that neck after it's CNC to get the final shape, and there's multiple layers of sanding and stuff that it'll go through. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of hand involved, and that does mean there's inherently variability even in guitars where the necks are cut on CNCs. So now if you kind of take that and you go, so guitars where the whole guitar was like cut out with a bandsaw or something, manually, and then like shaped out. If there's variability on something that's cut out with a CNC and then hand shaped, if it's hand cut or cut on a lathe or something on a pattern, the variability is going to be even bigger. So yeah, I kind of agree with you there, man. Like I think now, if you buy like a custom shop level instrument, 99.99996% likely that's going to be a really good guitar. Like it's unlikely that it'll leave the factory bad. But I think where that's been a game changer in the guitar industry is cheap guitars, like you were saying. cheap guitars, it's actually hard to get a really, like a terrible cheap guitar.
You can't. I mean, well, you can.
But I mean,
I've seen one or
like
two
pawn shop kind of guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, there's.
What, like the Sanchez guitars?
There's this
or
one
something?
guitar that I made Mark Duncan's place, and the fret wires aren't even in the right place. They aren't
Yeah, I
spaced
saw
properly.
that. He's got a video on his channel. It's like,
What the heck? I mean, so you can't even. It doesn't even play properly. all
Why
the way
does
up.
he play it?
He doesn't play.
No,
He's
no, he
just
was
hanging up
making,
there as
yeah.
I
a.
was just
trying to
He's just
that.
hanging it up now because it's like we have a joke at it. And I mean, it's like goodness.
It's like an impossible guitar.
It's an impossible guitar, yeah. But now speaking of like the vintage guitars, I played a friend of mine's 62 straight original, and I just could not get on with this guitar. And he plays it often. He plays it great, but I just could not play this guitar. But maybe it's just. I'm just too used to like more modern guitars, but I enjoy all vintage frets and the vintage radiuses. I enjoy that. But with this particular Strat, I just could not. I really battled. I think I played 3 songs and I had to change back to my guitar.
Yeah.
Which it's a weird thing. That's why it's not. I think the modern guitars. The build quality's really become so much more.
I think the standard. I mean, going back to Yamaha now with with the Indonesian build stuff. I mean, like middle of the road Indonesian build these days is
good.
It's good, and a lot of times when you speak to someone, especially like we know now on Facebook, an SA Music Instrument Store and all of those platforms, the first thing everybody asks, is it USA? Is it Mexico?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, honestly, like there is like. It's a label thing because I've played Mexican Strats that absolutely rocked.
Yep.
I mean, with you playing Takai for a long while, I mean, it's...
Yeah, I mean, my Takai, one of my 2 favorite guitars I've ever owned were a Telly from a Takai Telly and a Strat, which I should never ever have got rid of because those 2 on any level, they were the same class as the highest end of the counterparts from other companies.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's definitely not that. I mean, yesterday I was playing the PRS Silver Sky, the Indonesian one.
yeah, SE Silver Sky. Yeah.
Okay. And I promise you, and this was factory setup. This wasn't even a set up guitar yet. And I thought, my goodness, this is a guitar that's,
ready to go.
Ready to go. And it sounds really good. I mean, and I've never really been a PRS guy. I've owned about 4 in my life before, and I've just got a new one now. It's not brand new. For my wife.
Borrowing it at the moment.
Got it from Michael.
What are you putting me in the crosshairs now? Jeez.
Not from the shop, from me personally.
Yeah, they're just lending it.
But back to the point of having a cheaper guitar, which sounds amazing and really feels incredible. Things are just so good these days. I mean, we're sitting at a point now where the music industry is like really hitting in a bad shape when it comes to the artists and making money and that kind of stuff. From original music, but from a production point of view and from the guitars we can own now. I mean, jeepers, has there ever been a better time?
It's so good. I'd say it's definitely, to me, the golden age of gear at the moment. And what to me is remarkable about it being the golden age of gear is just during the pandemic when, like, the demand for everything, I don't know if everybody realizes this, the demand for things are so high right now. Some things are, like some of these PRS things are like, they're back ordered into like 3-4 years,
What?
If you wanted to order a Masterbuilt Strat right now, custom shop Masterbuilt Strat, you wanted Ron Thorne to make you a guitar, you're going to wait 6 years for it at the moment. Jeez. It's just like the demand for the stuff during the pandemic, with people, especially in the Western world, having a bit of government stimulus money. They're not spending money on going on holiday.
Not South Africa.
No, that's the funny thing is...
Thank you, government.
Yeah, we got... I mean, there was something, but not really that.
Yeah.
But, guys sitting at home, not being able to spend their money on holidays and trips, and, they had to stay where they were. In a lot of cases, you couldn't even buy like takeaway food or whatever. So you're saving money even there. You can't go out to eat or whatever. That just kind of pushed the consumer goods market in the world to like breaking point, where everything like computers and gaming stuff and musical instruments, like consumer goods, pushed it.
The computer industry is still feeling it.
Yeah, because like the world can't...
chips and stuff. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's coming down to the guitar industry where you can't get a Line 6 Helix for love of money because
Really?
the chips they're prioritizing the ones they make for American markets. So if you're trying to get it in South Africa, there aren't enough chips to make units for South Africa. Things like that Fractal, the XFX stuff, it affects them too. Digital mixers, try to buy a digital mixer.
Really?
It's pretty difficult, So that is like carried through to everything from the last 2 years, and it's going to keep going because it's very hard for the world to recover from a huge sudden surge in demand, and that's carried to shipping. Shipping around the world is screwed because the demand is higher than the capacity.
Yeah.
So all of this roundabout thing for me to say, isn't it remarkable that guitars that are made right now, considering all these factories are making way more guitars than they ever had in their entire history, how is the quality as good as it is? You'd expect them to be out of shit right now, surely.
They're just pumping them out.
They're just pumping them out. And I mean, you do get a few turds occasionally from every factory, but the incidence of that, considering, I mean, at Marshall Music, I get to see kind of, I'm generally the guy going, hey, Mr. Guitar Company, there's something wrong with this thing. It hasn't happened a lot, hey? It's really remarkable to me.
Which brands have you found? Look at
him. He's like, oh, I'm asking the wrong
under the
question.
bus, bugger. But surely you must have seen one or two. Okay, I'm not going to ask you, but you must have seen. You don't have to name the brand, but I mean, there must be. Yeah, where there's more.
Well, usually when there's something wrong these days, it's not like a mechanical thing that's wrong with the guitar. Not even that. It's usually finishing. So it'll usually be. Like, I mean, we've had a couple guitars where the back of the guitar is a little scratched or something, and it's new from factory. So then
it's not a Murphy Lab, so it's not supposed to be.
No, it's not supposed to be straight or a Fender Custom Shop Relic or whatever. It's just like, maybe when the guy tested it in the factory, it dinged something and he didn't notice or whatever. I've had a few things like that. I've had a few things with finish issues, but again, it's been relatively low incidences. I mean, I'm talking in the last 3 years, I think 4 or 5 guitars total across the store that has, literally
to the point where you can't sell it.
Thousands of guitars, so it's not a lot. And it's also, I think it also comes in degrees, like if it's a Gibson or a PRS USA guitar that has an issue, you're more likely to go to the manufacturer and go like, hey, this is a problem, guys. You got to fix this. You got to swap this out. Whereas, I mean, if it's like a Squire Bullet or something, maybe that can be sorted out in setup or something. So
I mean, I remember getting a 62 issue Gibson Les Paul, and the one machine head was put on skew.
I have seen that on the whole.
It was literally put on.
But wasn't it true to
No, that's correct. I don't know what this oak was clapping back there, on his tea break, But when he came back, this machine head was skewed. And funny enough, when I saw it, I didn't even think I saw it in the shop. I was so excited. This is a long time ago, and I got home and then, afterwards checking the guitar out and thought, my word, look at this. It was literally, all the others were like nicely shaped, and this one was cracking, and they also...
it's like that one wheel on the trolley,
Yeah.
Well, I had a similar incident like a couple of years ago where I got a PRS SE Zach Myers as a birthday gift. And then I was actually playing in church that upcoming Sunday morning, and I thought like, well, I got it this Saturday, Sunday morning I'm going to hit it. Without like checking, and I was just obviously whittling it, acoustically at home. Sunday morning at church, oh my goodness, everything went wrong.
The pickups don't work.
The pickup switch, like it didn't want to change, and at one point it literally went floppy, like it didn't want to do anything. The intonation was. Actually, it wasn't at church. It was a gig. We were playing with Cutting Jade at Railways in Centurion. I remember this now. And then
so a gig that mattered.
Yeah. So going on stage and now playing, and like everything just feels out of tune. And then you realize the intonation on this thing is absolutely crap. And then after closer inspection, and I mean, up until that point, I wasn't the type of person that looked at the guitar in that way. You could actually see that on the nut, like all of the strings were different heights.
Oh my gosh.
It was chaos. And it went to the point where I actually had like this whole battle with Zach Myers on Twitter, where I was like...
What, you had Twitter beef with Zach Myers about his guitar that he didn't make?
Exactly. I tweeted about how shit the guitar was. And then we had this whole conversation for like 3-4 days long, where he would say like he'd take his guitar anywhere, he'll take one off the floor, and I'm like, dude, you don't have the one that I have. It's like, it's rubbish. I can't even remember where the conversation went.
Oh my word.
But it got to the point where we actually realized that PRS states that all of their guitars are obviously like built in somewhere in Indonesia and then like checked before.
That's probably actually when they were made in Korea still. If yours is the old...
it's the like the
that would have been the
green,
Korean ones. Yeah, the current ones are Indonesia. The older ones are Korea.
Yeah, so what happened then is like PRS stated that all of the guitars are then checked, by PRS USA before sold.
Oh, wow.
But obviously the ones that get sold in Europe and the States.
Yeah, they're not.
In South
I
Africa.
can confirm that they're not. Yeah.
Really?
It just gets shipped straight to...
from the east.
Yeah, so
No, because why would they ship it all the way to the States?
double the cost,
Unless they've got a guy from the main PRS head office to check everything.
Exactly. So that was like the one incident where it was like absolutely shocking.
Unplayable.
But I can say now with it, I mean, the new Zach Mars that's at Marshall now, I mean, that thing is...
Yeah, well, not at Marshall anymore because we sold all of them.
Damn it. But I mean, that blue one was like, again, obviously it's upgraded and everything, but that was perfect. So it's like this...
I think the current ones are super good. I love the fact that was it Instagram or Twitter beef you had?
Twitter. I'll actually
beef.
go look for it. Like,
Please.
I'll see if we can...
That's amazing.
Put the
So
conversation
you asked me which brands have the highest incidences.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're the Gibson guys, so we sell more of that than anything else. So yes, it would be Gibson. But I'm talking in the last 3 years, I think it's 3 guitars. So, and in the case of only one of them, was it something that was unsortable, it was like a proper
And then what happens
issue.
in that case?
Well, it'll go back to that part
to-
of the, it'll go back to Gibson Europe and they'll sort it out, maybe send another one, credit us, whatever. But, the thing with something like a Gibson is also the finish, being a really thin nitro finish, it's not very tough, So if it takes a knock in travel or, a customer, let me just say this, a customer who wants a guitar that's going to stay pristine forever, that's not the guitar for you. You should be buying like a PRS or a poly-coated like Fender or something. You don't want a custom shop because if you go that route with the thin nitro, you're going to hurt the finish like easily. And then, guys who lose their mind like, I've had all these guitars all this years and nothing's ever happened. It's like, dude, you haven't had a custom shop. You go crazy for no reason.
But do you even play then? If
I mean... A very thin nitro finish that's...
Too scared to look, little nick it or something like that because it's too frail,
Yeah, it's part of what you're paying for that like vintage authenticity. So, that's where you'd have an issue. I mean, the other issue we've had is we've had an acoustics top actually warp, but, that's, again, something that happens with a lot of brands where, the thing gets subjected to a lot of different temperatures, a lot of different atmospheric pressures coming from overseas. I mean, I said the other day when I said to a guy that the guitars don't teleport, because it's just like, people going like, why is this thing not perfect? It's like, dude, it took, 3 or 4 months to get from the factory to us. And in that time, it's sat in multiple warehouses. It's been all over the world. Like to expect the thing to be okay when it's made out of wood's an organic thing.
Yeah, but I mean, not even all over the world. I mean, just from Durban to Joburg is a massive difference.
Even like letting guitars acclimatize, people don't realize this. Like especially nitro finished guitars. If we get a shipment of nitro finished guitars, don't open them immediately because like the whole thing could crack. Like if it's that like checking you get on like a vintage like old guitars. The reason the checking is there is because the finish moves and the wood moves, and like if the guitar gets cold and then suddenly gets warm, then the wood will move and the finish will stay where it is and it'll crack. So it's
I did not know this.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. People are like, oh, how could this happen with a thing? I mean, a guitar is a more organic thing than a microphone. Microphone, this thing's metal.
That's the thing,
But I mean, there's a bunch of metal bolted to a piece of wood, and the wood's going to move with humidity. It's going to move, with whatever. So it's I think it's a mindset with people. Like nowadays, like consumers are like, everything's an iPhone. They think, think of that like this thing has to be perfect. It has to work immediately. Guitar's probably going to need a setup to be how you want it. It's probably going to need some work. It's like really only the only guitar I've ever bought in my entire life that didn't need a setup out of the box was a custom shop Gibson.
Yeah, likewise.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you've also got one as well. Where it's just like I took it to a guy and the guy just looks at it and goes, you know what?
There was just nothing.
The only time it actually needed a setup, I took it to JD Custom there, Marshall, because when I changed the strings, I forgot that you've got to tape down the bridge, and the bridge fell off, and I spun the posts, and I'm like, crap. So then I took it to them because I wanted it to be perfect because it played so well before, and to the credit, it is perfect. But it's just, I have another custom shop guitar. I have a custom shop Fender. It needed a setup, like it really did. Yeah. So you can't always expect that because it's a piece of wood. The thing's going to move. So we got the hot news. We're talking about the Yamaha Revstars. They're really cool. They're going to be coming in a couple of weeks. We'll probably do some videos on the Marshall channel about it. Maybe we'll bring one in here as well. But I think it gives us a little segue with what we've been talking about let's go to the hot topic of the week, which is, are custom shop guitars worth it? Yes. Moving on.
Well, I think this entire conversation kind of
covers a lot of
Listen,
that.
I don't really. I think
It depends on the guitar.
On the guitar, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Gibson, yes, but Fender, I can't see myself paying that money for a custom shop Fender.
Yeah.
I can.
Mike, tell us about your custom shop Fender.
Well, there's this bit where I had to cut down on the quality of food I was eating for a while to pay for the custom shop, and I had to sell you a guitar or two.
Yeah, listen, I mean...
Not sell, I mean Len. Sorry, Mark's wife.
No, it's just... But because, I mean, if you look at the construction of a Les Paul compared to the construction of a Telly or a Strat, I mean, the Strat and a Telly are so basic, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Compared to like the Les Paul, you actually feel like you're getting...
Yeah, there's a bit more workmanship involved. And
even like a PRS, like not even a custom shop, but just like a high-end PRS. Like I'd easily, if I had 100K, pay 100K for a high-end PRS than for a custom shop.
So a cheapie then?
I'm a cheapie. It's just because I don't have money. That's the only reason it's not.
But actually, I misspoke a little bit earlier about the nitro finish and buying a PRS, it's not going to take damage. Actually, since 2019, they've moved to nitro as well. So their finish is also super thin now, actually. So you can't really buy a super high-end guitar that's going to take you bouncing, things off it.
But I mean, like, just from a visual perspective, like Mark says, if I look at a 100K PRS and I look at a 100K Telly, I can see where the 100K goes on the PRS, but on a Telly, it's
in dollar terms, we're talking $5,000-$6,000 for the PRS. Maybe the Telly's a $4,000 or $5,000 Telly.
Yeah. So, but I mean, so visually, I can see the workmanship. I can see whereas on a Telly,
and then the tops,
it looks like a Telly.
Yeah, I think for me now having actually, and I mean, I've always been the advocate when it comes to custom shop. Like Gibson's probably the best. I know it sounds crazy, but it's probably the best value for what you're getting for your custom shop money versus some of the other guys. And I think unless with Fender, it's one of those things where the construction is much simpler. Bolt-on guitar.
But when I came in there and I played
all of the Tellys, every Telly,
and also when I played the two Strats that were there. I mean, the beautiful guitars and sound great, but I just could not see. I
couldn't see the value in it, yeah. And I think,
and still to that point, I mean, but the car still played better than that.
Get out of here with
I'm telling you, dude. I'm not just playing and punting to car. It's just like those are. Okay, that just goes to a Japanese guitar that really is built well.
Yeah, it can be,
it sounded great. And then look, I mean, there's obviously differences, and you'll know them. Because you obviously inspect everything better than I do. But I know what I'm playing.
Extend my robot antenna so I can get some of that.
When I'm holding a guitar and I'm playing my guitar and I feel what I'm playing, I just did not feel that in those Fender.
I actually agree with you there. To me, in South Africa, I think South Africa is where we got to put the caveat on this. Is like in South Africa, because we do Marshall, we do Gibson direct, a Gibson dealer. We're basically selling Gibsons for kind of what they sell for overseas. Whereas Fender, there's a local distributor, so that adds a little bit to the price of the thing, So that kind of takes, it's not really an apples for apples comparison because, a Fender custom shop should be cheaper than a Gibson custom shop generally in the standard model. So, but in South Africa, they're more expensive than they should be. So when you do that like for like comparison, I agree, Like on its own merits, a Fender custom shop's a great guitar. But at the price, that's what you're always thinking in your mind. It's like, okay, well, this guitar is 100,000 rand.
But if you compare it to the professional range, they sound great, but the professional range sounds great.
The pro range is great. Like to me, what you go for with Fender Custom Shop is if you like a bigger neck, principally, that's where you go. Because like in the Fender range, and I must say this for me, I don't like the skinny necks. Like I hated the modern Cs. I owned a bunch of, 2010s. Fender American Standard kind of guitars. I had like Cabronita Tellys. That modern C, I hate that neck with a passion. Sorry, Fender, but it's just too thin. And
but I mean, what neck was on that Miami Blue professional.
That's called the deep C.
Because that was beautiful. That neck was insane.
So that's a little bigger than the modern C. So, like I think Fender's realized people want a slightly bigger neck shape.
Yeah.
So they've kind of gone that way. I mean, that the 910 you got's got that profile on paper, but obviously on paper.
It feels completely different.
Different because it's got binding and, obviously whoever hand sanded it on that day, it took a bit more off or whatever. But, I think Fender's kind of realized they've got to go to a slightly bigger neck because, most of the boutique guitar makers, you're talking like Surs and Grosches and, Danocasters and whatever, K-lines.
Tom
Andersons. They tend to have bigger necks actually, whereas
I've read a K-line.
The reason why I'm so quiet is because I don't
play
Fender.
Strat.
So I'm just listening
that
to this
K-line
conversation.
was one of the best. But I mean, the finish of it, it just made me break out.
Oh, so like something in the nitro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I think with Fender Custom Shop is if you want a bigger neck shape or a specific neck shape, So like for me, my Custom Shop Telly's got their large C, which is much bigger than anything that you can get on a...
Beautiful.
So, that's what I like on a 25.5-inch scale
That's
guitar because
really
I want a little bit more to sort of put on.
But then my question as the not... Strat player in the room, wouldn't it just make more sense to go for something like a GNL where you have the option of having a thicker neck for like a fraction of the price?
Well, if you go option order, sure. That is part of it. Like, but then you're not going to get a nitro finish on it for starters. That'll be one of the things. And the options are more limited than something like Custom Shop. So, like what's interesting, some guitar brands like will let you choose certain things. Like PRS used to do this, where you could be like, okay, I want the artist package. I want, which gives you some certain appointments. You have like 2 or 3 neck profiles you can choose from. Do you want it fixed bridge or whatever? They don't do that anymore, obviously. I
think it's just due to the amount of
how many guitars they're making. But then you also have like the Custom Shop thing where you can go to like crazy detail, and then you can go Master Vault where you have one specific guy build you the guitar and he'll do anything you want.
But another question,
that'll be like if you want a Batman guitar or something.
But my question now from someone that doesn't own a Custom Shop guitar, is it worth the price tag? I think because that's the thing.
It's the law of diminishing returns.
Is it more the fact like bragging rights that you have a Custom Shop, or is it? Like, I think just because I don't own a custom shop.
I think it's if it's worth it to you, because like to me, I
think you're right.
With everything, when we were talking about Indonesian guitars, we're talking about like a PRS SC Zach Myers. You had one that wasn't good 10 years ago, and now the current one is really good. Like an Indonesian guitar for $600, whatever, is a really good guitar. Is a Custom Shop guitar that's $6,000 that that $5,400 price difference better? No. Absolutely not. Like, I think with anything hobbyist, especially because like a lot of this, like some professionals are playing custom shops, but a lot of the guys buying them are hobbyists. They're guys who may be, playing at home or whatever. It's about like what are you getting for the money that you're spending? Like if it's really down to are you getting more guitar with the Les Paul Standard, a USA Les Paul Standard, or a 59 reissue R9 Custom Shop? No, you're getting the same amount of guitar. Actually, you're getting less guitar with the Custom Shop because it weighs a lot less because it'll be more select woods. It'll be lighter, but you're getting a more authentic build. They're using the same the same hide glue from the originals. They're using the same highly toxic aniline dye that kills thousands of workers every year. That doesn't happen. I'm kidding, but I
wanted to make a joke, but then I was thinking
that was terrible. No, it doesn't. They make them in America. So, but I mean, we both bought Custom Shop Gibsons. When you look at the binding's got this like red bleed over it.
The first time I saw that, like, can I get one of those guitars, I thought to myself, goodness, man, couldn't they just finish? You're paying so much money and they can't even finish the binding off properly.
But I mean, it's the aniline dye. It'll keep moving for years until eventually it stops. That's what happened with the original. So they've made it out of the original material, even though it's not the favorable thing to make it out of now, to make it authentic. So you're paying for that labor that makes a guitar. But is it more guitar? No, it's the same amount of guitar even as an Epiphone Les Paul. I mean, that's a Les Paul still, isn't it?
Yeah, but you stand on stage and you're playing. If you set your amp up, you're going to set your amp up according to whatever your guitar you're playing, and you're going to get the sound that you're looking for. You're going to get it. Whether you're going through with your pedals helping you get whatever, you're still going to get the same sound eventually. You're
just going to have to work harder for it.
A little bit harder, just to turn the treble up a little bit.
It's hard work, Mark. I mean,
because the only person that I know that takes his, like, I think he's got an R7, his Werner Bosman. He's the only person that I know that'll take his, 100K Gibson and go gig
Oh, you
with
do
it.
as well, don't you, Mark?
I do now and again. When I played a quiet restaurant that it can't be bumped at.
You know what? Some guy coming up and like poking you.
No, I've seen Banner play like dodgy places,
but he just loves the guitar. Vanna, just like, and he makes that thing sound like.
He makes that thing sing.
No,
goodness.
Banner.
But like to me, with a custom shop Les Paul, like I sell Gibsons all the time. I still sell them. I don't personally sell them, not in sales, but. I don't really like the pickups that are the stock pickups. I like the pickups that you get in the custom buckers. Yeah. They're just different, and there's just something about the way the guitar responds. It vibrates more than the standard one. So it's kind of the sum of its parts in a sense. But is it that much worth that price? Probably not. But with custom shop, what you got to also think of is the investment value. Like to me, I'm buying a guitar now, and in 5 years, if I want to sell that guitar, I can probably get more money back than what I paid for it because of the appreciation of those things. Like a Gibson's probably the best investment if you're going to buy a guitar for investment's sake. That's the other part of it.
It's definitely down to the buyer itself, as a hobby.
It's the intangibles. Like for me, now I've sold a bunch of guitars. I only have 2 guitars. I got a custom shop Fender, custom shop Gibson, and that sounds horribly poncy. And I'm going to become a blues lawyer. That's like or a dentist or something. That's my next career move, right?
Definitely.
I've got to get a PRS again to like complete the dentist blues lawyer thing. But what I found with that now, like where I've just been playing these 2 guitars for the last few weeks, and I'm playing like every day. I'm really enjoying them. And I mean, I've had the custom shop Gibson for probably like 10 months or something. So it's not new to me. It's not the honeymoon kind of thing. I've played the guitar a lot. I think I'm on.
Still hear the value in it.
Yes, I'm still.
You still get that feeling of
holy shit! This thing is blowing my mind. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it's
you still get those feelings.
And maybe some of it's intangible. It's that whole like, I got to justify my purchase thing. But it's.
Do you still open the case and like?
Yes.
Smell it too.
I wish you could buy some extra stuff to keep that smell there forever.
I know. Hey, there's something about that nitro kind of sweet almond smell.
It's a weird smell, but it's the best when you open that case. You just get that, And
it's like it's the smell that wafts at you and chases away poor people.
That's the thing. The peasants.
I'm kidding. But it's like people also think people who play custom shops are elitist about it. I mean, I've never really, honestly, I've never aspired to have that level of instruments. It's not been like, I've never in my life gone like, I really have to have a custom shop. I've always been like, the American made stuff is really good. Like their pro level instruments, I'm happy with it. But then having been exposed more and more to custom shops, which we're lucky at with Marshall Music, we've always got a selection of custom shops. You start to understand why there's a difference. And then I played one day and I'm just like, you know what, I gotta do something because this guitar is, there's other guitars that I've liked, and then there's this. And
I've played the custom shop as well.
And there's a few that you don't like as much.
And it was a seriously bad one. It did not.
I'm just going to cover the Gibson logo so it can't hear the things you say.
I mean, whoever ended up with that guitar, shame. Because, I mean, that money was just...
down the drain.
That was like
I think every guitar manufacturer can make a lemon.
But that's a custom shop. You know what I mean?
But the question is
it worth it?
Is it worth it?
No.
Yep, I agree. It's not worth it.
It isn't worth it from a purely monetary point of view.
You can always find a pickup that will make it sound the same.
Or close.
But again, I think it's like Mike also said, it comes down to the individual. For me personally, flying anywhere, the difference between flying economy and business, like, is it worth it? Like I'm sorry, I can't see it. Probably international flights. There's a big
it's so worth it there, man.
Yeah, no, but like because recently, flying.
I only done a couple in all of my time traveling internationally. Only a couple of business. It's worth it, man.
Yeah, because I mean, recently flying from Cape Town to Joburg, you walk past the business class people, and the only thing that's separating them from us is a little gordyntjie, and then they've got a seat.
Classism exists in 2022.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, is it worth it? Because you're also going to get there in 2 hours. We're going to get there the same. I mean, it's, I think,
is
but
the
obviously,
experience that good, yeah.
But yeah, but obviously, if it comes down to you have the funds available, why not?
I think that's it. It's if you can.
Or if the company's paying for it.
Yeah,
or
with
if
flight,
you've got a credit card limit that
But I think with a custom shop guitar, it's worth it to the individual if it's something you can afford, if it's something you aspire to, and let's face it, they're aspirational things. To be honest, you don't need a custom shop, but you want a custom shop.
You don't need a Ferrari, but
but you want a Ferrari.
Definitely.
So it's one of those things. So you're like, to me, I'm going to be paying for these custom shops for years to come, basically, because it's a huge expense, and I'm not rolling in the dough, but I made that decision because it's, you know what, I love this thing. This thing is really doing it for me. My R9 is one of the best guitars I've ever played, and it's nice when you get to the point in your life where you can have the guitars that are the best guitars you've ever played. You know, you hit your sort of late 30s or whatever, then you can sort of justify it in some way. But on a purely financial transaction, no, it's not worth it. But from a do you want it or don't you want it point of view, absolutely. If you want that and it's something you can afford and it's not going to kill your family, or in my case, I don't have, the family to kill. So that's, by not, by like being financially irresponsible, I can get away with it. So it depends on the person. But, to me, would I trade either of my custom shop guitars for non-custom shop guitars? No. Absolutely not.
Just haven't had the right one yet.
Now, you see, the problem is, because I've been playing these, I was actually going to say this earlier, I've been playing these two guitars now only for the last couple of weeks. In the shop, I picked up a guitar that I loved a few weeks ago, and I played it, and I'm like, it's like my face is just like, because I'm starting to realize, okay, the things you can't see, like the way the fingerboard edges are rolled and the way the frets are polished and everything, those small little things, like they make a difference to the way the guitar. Yeah, like if you haven't been exposed to it, when you have I've always had 4 or 5 guitars of different qualities and whatever. Yeah. So then you don't really notice those things so much because you're playing your other guitars. But then when you just play a couple of really high end guitars for a while and you play something else that's really good and you're just like, this is terrible. Know? Is that how the lawyers and the doctors do it? I don't know. So anyway, I think we need to move on.
We'll cut here quickly. How much time do we have left on?
Still quite a bit.
Because we're over an hour.
I know we are. It's just that I've actually cut things as we've gone because we've been.
I don't know if we want to wrap it up because this is a lot of content
That's okay. We're having a good conversation, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking of someone listening, it's a lot of content. So
yeah, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to the guitar of the week and the gear of the week, and I'm going to leave out the gear page topic.
All right.
That's where I was going with this, so that we could get finished in 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. No, I'm just thinking about
yeah, so that's it for the hot topic, eh? It was a pretty hot topic, I got to say.
Definitely.
And I feel like a horrible person for having custom shops.
No, well, let's be honest.
Hey, you're in this with me as well, Mark. You're horrible too.
I'll be honest. If I had the money, I mean, come on. Obviously,
why not?
Why not?
If you like cars, you're gonna buy a better. You're gonna buy a sports car or something if that's what you like.
Obviously, if you're a Ferrari guy and Ferrari, you dig it. You know what I mean? Even if you're driving a Toyota now, you'll always aspire to have. A Ferrari, that type of thing. So it's the same thing.
The next step, a Lexus.
Yeah, obviously. But I mean, it's that same thing. Like if you are a Gibson guy and that is your thing, and owning a custom shop Gibson
is your aspiration.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, I've never aspired to have that. It's just the instruments. These particular ones were so good they convinced me. And part of what convinced me, you bastard, was you coming and trying out all the custom shops, and I'm sitting with you with your playing being so good, and I'm listening going. It's just like
flip it. That finding the R8 was a revelation. Going through with the R9s and the ones
that one you got is good, man.
But that just stood out.
It made me second guess all sorts of life choices. Like why don't I have this?
Flip. It was. I couldn't get that out of my mind after playing it,
And then you're like, okay, being able to eat, pay rent.
Or lose a whole bunch of guitars, which happened.
Yeah, which is what we do. What we got to do to get the things we want. Yeah. Talking about things we want. Guitar of the week.
Guitar of the week.
So this would be the guitar of the week. Let me try to avoid hitting microphones and things.
Hit it.
There we go. Is this on camera? Is it?
Yes.
Is it in frame? Okay.
Relic it.
Yeah, I mean, this has got a nitro finish. It can be relic. Yeah. So this is a 20...
Do you want a custom shop?
Raising the value there, man. Well, anyway, this is an Eric Johnson thin line Fender. They only did it for 1 year in 2018.
So is this yours or is this from...
No, it's from the shop.
From the shop. Oh.
What do you think I brought it from home or something?
No, I don't know.
It's not a custom shop.
I don't know if Mark has another fetish.
No. So this is quite a cool vibe. It's actually a properly hollow, it's not just a thin line in the thin line sense where some are sort of like hollowed out on one side. It's actually a properly like hollow guitar with a sensitive line.
Gosh.
So it's actually hollow on both sides, which is interesting. There you go. So Eric Johnson's vibe, and Eric Johnson's he's the crazy guy who says that he could hear the differences between batteries in his fuzz faces at his overdrive pedal. So
I mean, I had the previous version, or just the normal solid body of this, and my personal preference was the other one compared to this.
The solid body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about what you prefer in terms of tonality. Eric Johnson was saying with this one, he's also played 335s a lot in his career as well, besides his 54 Strat. So he wanted to kind of get something that's sort of going to bridge the gap a little bit, give him some of the airiness that his hollow body kind of gives him. And it's a cool guitar. I think it's really unique. Having a Strat with an F-hole, very unique. I mean, there are brands that do it, some of the boutique brands. What's interesting with this as well, it's still got an arm contour, which is fairly unusual for having
I dig that.
the F-hole.
Yeah.
And it's lighter. Like, to me, I've always dug thin line guitars because they're lighter, like lighter for me is always the gold standard. I mean, not for everyone. Some people like big bruiser guitars,
And
but
obviously he likes his springs.
yeah, the trim doesn't really work because it's like pulled down. But even this, like Eric Johnson's so crazy about this, he's saying that he can hear the difference between paint under the bridge and no paint. And,
Sure.
like the way if you check here in the back, where the string sits in the block, he says that changes where it sounds. So
Like, I don't want to
He's a bit nuts.
No, here's the thing. Like, I don't want to come across like, I mean, Eric Johnson is absolute monster.
yep.
But really?
Really?
But when would he have sat and said, "Let me just move this string on the string"?
You know what it probably was?
Give me
It
one,
was-
and
it
then
was-
just move it slightly.
It's probably he was like chilling in his studio and he tells his guitar tech while he's not onto it, do this, and let's see how it sounds.
But did he
and
have
do this.
like a whole bunch of?
I don't know.
Like different blocks.
Yeah, different blocks.
You're asking the practical hard questions, yeah, Mike.
But that's, I mean, like, yeah, so now that he, like, just moved that thing like a millimeter every time, and then he went and, like,
Okay, that's where it is. That's it.
I mean, he could.
He could, I guess.
On a different day. I mean,
He's
I mean,
Eric
he-
Johnson, so
And he was
probably-
also stuck at home in quarantine, so it could have.
No, this was before quarantine, so...
Okay, then, I don't know.
Anyway, this is a cool guitar. It's a Marshall Music. You can check it out. Eric Johnson,
a very
thin
cool
line.
guitar.
Very
Very
interesting
cool.
thing. What's
Very
also quite
nice.
cool is this is modeled on a 50 Strat, and if you've never noticed, the contours on a 50 Strat are actually more sort of sharp. So when you got it on your body, especially back here, the belly cut, it feels so much more cut away than a 60 Strat or modern Strat.
You can actually see it. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
even
very.
over here.
Yeah, exactly. And nitro finished as well. You get a G&G hard case, and it's a limited guitar that they only made for 1 year. So, guitar of the week. You got to write some jingles, Mr. Samo.
Some Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Seinfeld. Okay, so on to the final segment, and then we're going to thankfully leave you because we've been talking for a long time. I hope you guys are still with us. I hope you're still enjoying it. Gear of the week. Individually, we're going to talk about a couple things that we like. So I'll start. My gear of the week is the Neural DSP Tone King Imperial Mark II plugin. It sounds great. It sounds so good. We haven't had the privilege in South Africa of trying the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. Been trying to get them for a long time, but chip shortages and demand and all of that being what it is. But this software package, like Neural DSP has generally been known for making like high gain kind of stuff, like the Archetype and the John Petrucci and the,
Pliny and
Tim Henson.
Is it them?
Well, I tell you what, the Corey Wong is a more,
A bit lighter, yeah.
which is really,
And the
but
Pliny
still
as well
great
is also a bit-
sounding. Great sounding.
Jeez, the Tone King. Have you tried it yet, Mark?
No, I haven't.
I told you last week you should try it. It's so good.
No, but
Like what's actually happened in the last couple of weeks is I've turned my valve amp on twice and I've played guitar every day in the last 2 weeks. So like
but their plugins really are great
so good.
sounding.
It's so good, and
they
it feels like an
good,
amp. Yeah,
you
it
know?
feels like an amp. I'm thoroughly impressed if you like cleaner tones, and like it does go pretty high gain as well, but it's not like chugging high gain. It's like it's the Tone King Imperial is an amp. It's a specific like sort of Fender Deluxe reverb style amp with some drive on it. So I want to try one of those amps now because of how good the plugin is, and it's got like minimal stuff in it. Doesn't have like 10,000 things. It just sounds so good.
Wow.
Like it just makes me want to play guitar. So like if you guys want to check it out,
Nice cleans, eh?
yeah, fantastic cleans, fantastic low drives, and specifically when you're playing something. This is also where you notice something like an RI and you plug it into some
so you
software
still
and
hear
it doesn't really do anything. Whereas I can hear the air on the unpotted humbuckers that you hear through a valve amp. So Dig
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Absolutely dig it. Try it out. There's a 14-day trial. I think it's €99 if you want to buy it. They have a very cheeky...
No, it's a bit more.
No, it's €99.
That what is it?
Yeah.
It used to be 149.
Yeah, it's 99 now. But they're very cheeky. They've got a birthday sale on at the moment on everything except that. Because that's the new release. So.
I would have really dig to check out the Pliny stuff. Yeah, I love.
Download the
Awesome.
demo, man. They got demos of
Oh,
everything.
that's-
I mean, we got no affiliation
The
to
problem is
neural
I don't have
DSP. They're
Pliny's
just cool.
fingers or like, let's just not even go.
Just the sound of those. I mean, I've bought a couple of them that like for some of the productions I've done, and to try and get some of those sounds with my Kemper or the Helix or the amp, it was you're gonna
Impossible.
really have to jump through hoops to get
that.
sound. I mean, they really sound great, and you listen, but you get other guys going to say, no, you're just never going to beat the amp. Believe me, this probably does. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the
Probably.
neural stuff is really insane.
And there's some cool presets. There's like Pete Thorne presets and Rubia Masad presets or whatever on the Tone King. So yeah, they do a cool job. Mark, what's your gear of the week?
Well, I've just got to speak to my new swap that I made with you with my PRS. I don't even know the name of it.
Oh,
properly.
it's okay. Well, yeah,
You know?
it's
I even know.
he
Is
even
it? Because I mean, I just know
It's the semi-hollow CE24.
There
Yeah,
we go.
CE24
There we go
semi-hollow.
then, folks. And it's just like
It's a great guitar.
It's
and
an
I'm-
insane
I'm-
guitar.
I
It is.
really am not a PRS fan. Sorry. I think I've got to speak my opinion now, fellas. Come on now. I know you love him and you love him. That's you guys, me. Like, I mean, I've had a McCarty, beautiful, absolutely stunning. I've had a Custom 22, 24, Swamp Ash. I've had the Studio. And I just found that for me personally, the sound was it's very, very generic. And obviously, I'm wrong because, I mean, you won't get so many millions of players loving them and spending so much
Maybe
money
there's a
on
lot
them.
of bland people out there. Have you ever thought about that?
No, but not the level of these guys that play them. But when I played yours that day, I was like, this doesn't sound like a PRS to me.
See that
You know?
no, that's the thing with it.
But that's the bolt-on as well.
yeah. The
so it's,
CE24 has got a bolt-on neck. That definitely changes the snap of the notes. That like transient kind of
Yes.
kind of
which
thing you
I
get with the pick
always
attack.
thought was bullshit until I actually
You
tried
tried
it, and it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a
That's-
difference. And also the maple neck, I suppose. Those are
Yeah,
from Mahogany.
it's kind of crazy because like a custom 24 has got the same pickups as a CE24, the 8515, the core pickups. But
Sounds completely different.
Doesn't sound like the same pickups. Just the
Yeah.
construction, obviously Tonewood is rubbish. That's what you're going to say, but
Yeah,
you liar. But
I would.
no, we're not going there. We're not going there.
We're not going to go
This
into
episode.
Tonewood now. We'll have that for later. But like, I think construction. I think Tonewood is a.
Myth.
Yes.
I don't think so, dude.
But I think construction is key.
Do you think it more? Do you think that more with electrics or acoustics as well?
No
Obviously
electrics.
acoustics is definitely
No
is-
acoustics. It
that-
like.
that- you can
Although
have
I
that
mean,
emphasis.
undersaddled pickups where this pickup has got no idea what the guitar is
Tonewood,
made out of.
Tonewood when it comes to electric guitars.
Yeah.
But we'll have that for us.
Yeah, we
separate,
got
but-
plenty of material.
But yeah, construction with that, guys. I mean, I played the Custom 24 and the CE24.
It's a bolt-on thing, eh?
It sounds completely different.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just
It's
like
kind of
really,
Fendery, actually, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like that's
very.
like
And
Fendery.
funny
in the snap.
enough,
Yeah.
I mean, on that middle position, it nearly sounds like this is the second position on a
It does.
on a Strat.
I did tell
Oh,
you that.
I
You didn't
was
believe
like-
me, eh?
When I only realized it at a gig really, because in the studio I never really got. But when I was playing without really thinking of focusing on the sound,
It sounds like
I
that
was,
four
I was,
position, eh?
good lord, that is like this like
quacky.
like a Strat. Yeah,
Cracky. Can you see why I didn't buy that Strat over December when I was like trying to
Yeah.
buy a Strat and I had the CE24? I'm like, nah.
yeah.
You know?
That's my gear of the week, and
Yeah, that's a fantastic guitar. I guess we must have put it on screen at some point.
You've got a couple in your
Oh,
shop.
yeah,
too.
we got a solid body in the store. Interestingly, like the solid body and the semi-hollow don't sound all that different. I think it's really more about the bolt-on neck and
Yes.
just the weight
But
thing.
we actually have a video of
Oh, we do.
us talking about that guitar, which I will.
Okay.
that very guitar that you've got now.
Yeah.
And I love that guitar as well. I'll probably buy it back from you at some
No,
point.
you won't.
I'll probably if it
No,
wasn't
you won't,
blue, I
Billy.
would have.
I won't say. Oh, we'll see about that, Mark.
If it wasn't blue, I'd probably also buy it from you.
No, because it's
Really?
blue.
Are you not a
Blue's the
fan
best
of blue,
colour.
right?
Yes, I don't know. I don't dig blue guitars, eh? Like
Aye, man.
for me,
He's asking me yesterday, he's like, I want a Core Custom 24/8, and I sent him a picture, and he's like, oh, that's very blue.
I don't know. Like the only guitar that I've loved, like when we talk about guitars, that like for me was the ultimate in playability, tone, everything. I sold because it was blue. I promise. Yeah, Tom Anderson
Goodness,
drop top.
man.
It was that thing. I'm still to this day sad. I just wish it wasn't blue. I don't know.
And then here's me last year who only had blue guitars.
only had blue
Yeah.
guitars. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know.
I don't know blue
guitars-
guitar now. It's a shame.
Yeah. So gear of the week. I don't know. This like I've got no idea.
Starplayer TV, we were talking about before. Duesenberg.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, tell us about those lovely switches of yours.
Yeah. The thing is, that there's so many things happening. Like I don't know what I would want to say as gear of the week. But yeah, let's talk about Duesenberg because obviously Duesenberg now is available through Marshall Music
now,
as
it
well.
always has been.
It always has been, but you've got actually like a wider range than just the toilet seat. You know,
Yes, this
there.
is
I don't
true.
know if you remember the toilet seat, the
The ice pearl.
ice pearl
Starplayer
thing.
TV.
And I mean, yeah, so I got a Duesenberg again because Mike, he is the culprit. And I mean, for me, again, and this actually goes back to that Nick Rush thing with the Yamaha Revstar, is he had a humbucker and a P90 in. And that pickup combination for me since then was just ultimate, you know. And then I was always looking, even with the Yamaha that I had, I actually wanted to change pickups, but like you couldn't find the proper pickups that you wanted. And then so comes Mike with Starplayer TV and, you know, guitar that actually has humbucker and P90. And I mean, the Starplayer for me it sounds incredible. It sounds it's the only thing that I don't dig is like Mike states, the railway pickup switch, like
It's like this whole like German railway thing where there's like, it's like 100 years ago, and on the side of the road there, it's like somebody shouting, Hans, flick the switch, we've got to move the tracks. You know?
The first time I switched, I thought, no, this can't be right. I thought it was the fault.
But exactly.
Yeah.
So
I loved it. I thought it's hilarious. It's like steampunk to me.
And now
it's like
I enjoy the look of it, but that noise.
it's super loud. And the thing is, I'm not actually like rehearsing for upcoming shows and stuff. And I'm thinking I could probably get just used to it, like flicking it like softly. But
It's got that pull on it, bud.
Change the
Yeah.
switch.
You know? It's that,
So-
unless you hold it all the way all the time, it's like,
yeah, because I mean the neck is perfect, you know. So the neck is plecked, you know. And after playing plecked necks, like I don't know if I'd ever be able to, because it's just pristine. It sounds amazing.
Put it on the topic list, plec necks
Yeah.
versus non-plec.
And then, but yeah, that's the only thing I can't get used to.
See,
but that guitar
you're loving the
just
guitar,
sounds-
but you're not digging the switch. Just change
Exactly.
the switch, man.
But can you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's a piece of electronics. Change it.
Take it to JD Custom to
Yeah, change it.
to.
Those are cool. I mean, I had a Starplayer TV last year as well. Really enjoyed it. Great guitar. I actually sold it partially because of getting the R9. You know, it's just guitar that I loved. And this is a funny thing. I think I bought and sold probably like a dozen guitars in the last year. And I liked all of them.
likewise. Yeah.
I liked all of them. But the thing is, you just sort of trading over. The Starplayer TV is a great guitar. I guess to me, the one thing I didn't dig with the guitar is I just wish it had the shorter Gibson scale. Like,
That is one thing that I'm feeling. Bends, yeah, digs.
But the bends, like you were speaking earlier, do also have to do with the trem system and the bridge.
That's kind of like fighting back, you know. That's one thing that I found always having, you know, fixed bridges and PRSs and all of that. You know, like bending on this thing, you think you're on the note, but then you're just slightly flat because of the actual. But I don't know if that's just my shit playing
it's
or
also
if
the
it's
scale
like,
length because you got to bend it a little further than you would on.
yeah, and it's so weird. It's something that you don't think about playing guitar so
Yeah.
long.
There's
You don't think about. You feel it now. You feel it.
Yeah.
It's not
But
right.
there's
Yeah.
actually another topic for another time because, like, you were just saying to me about your CE24. Why does it feel so soft? Are these like nines or whatever? No, it's partially because that trim
Short
is
scale neck as well,
it's
though.
the scale length and it's the
Yeah.
trim is giving a little bit as you're bending.
But that's a plus and a minus. You know what
Yeah,
I
and
mean?
I mean tuning stability can
You know?
be questionable.
Look,
with,
I mean, the tuning stability on the PRS is absolutely bloody brilliant. It just doesn't go out. You know what I mean?
See, I'm the crazy math boy. It's like I can hear its half sound out, but
I
I'm
can
not.
also hear if it's like start out, but this is like
No, but remember, I'm not the trem guy, so
It just stays in tune no matter what. It's beautiful.
Well,
But that's because you have auto-tune on. on your Helix.
So I think we've spoken about a couple of beautiful pieces of gear. So that's the gear of the week. That's our show for the week. We're going to try and make the show shorter in future. Of course, for the first one, you're always going to have a lot to say.
I think we're going to just be talking more and more.
Probably. I mean, podcasts can get long.
Yeah.
We'll put some timestamps for you guys. Hopefully, you'll be able to find the bit that you're interested in. We would like to thank Rode Microphones, South Africa and internationally, for these wonderful microphones and the boom arms and the Rodecaster Pro, which is this cool thing that's making all the audio happen. It's not that one.
And the most
other
comfy headphones ever, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about them next week. So definitely thank you, Rode. Thank you, Marshall Music, for supporting us in our endeavors and giving us cool bits of gear that we can show you as the guitar of the week and the gear of the week and all the things that happen every week. And we hope that this will happen another week. We thank you for joining us. My name is Mike. This is Dewald. This is Mark. See ya. That's Gearvana.